Hello guys, welcome to our Laravel based file management system. This system offers a range of essential functionalities designed to streamline your file organization process, from creating and renaming files to zipping folders and searching for a specific item. Our system is equipped to handle all your file management needs. Let's explore how this powerful tool can revolutionize the way you organize and manage your files. So let's start with a demo. Let's create a file. Let's give it a name, for example, test file, and give it a content. Now let's click save. As you guys can see, it has been created. Now if I come to my VS Code, and in here, the content is inside the file. We can also create a folder by giving a name, for example, testing folder. Click save, and it's created. Another thing that we can do is zipping everything which is inside the root file or inside any other folder. Here, let's click this zip, and the zip of all the files will be created. Then after that, we can go inside any folder we want, and we can go back. Then we can upload as many files as we want. For example, if I go to my desktop, and in here, I can upload as many files as I want. So as you guys can see, all of them has been uploaded. And if I come here, click on one of the pictures, you guys can see I can view it. After that, we can also right click and select rename. Then we can change the name of this files. For example, let's click rename and give it a name, example this name. So it will be changed to that name. Then we can also cut this file and paste it inside here by clicking paste button. We can also copy. Let's copy the 11.jpg and paste it inside this folder. It's here and also in here. Then we can download this file, or let's download this zip file. Let's right click, download, and the download has been started. Let's click keep. So it downloaded. Also, we can delete this zip file by right clicking and clicking the delete button. As you guys can see, it has been deleted. So let's see how we can build this file management in our Laravel application. Okay, so let's start by creating our routes first. Let's go to our routes web.php, and in here, let's create a new route with the prefix of file management, and in here let's create a group controller. Then let's create a group function. Inside this group function, I will create a new route to display my index file, where I display all files and folders. After that, I need a route for fetching all these files and folders. Then I will create two new routes, one for creating a file and another for creating a folder. After that, I will create another route for renaming, then for pasting. Remember, in here, we don't need any route for cut and copy. We only need a route for paste. After that, we also want to zip our folders. So I will create a route for zip folder. Then we need delete. So I will create a delete route. And also, if the user want to download some folders or some files, they can also download it by using this route, and they can also upload many files. So I will create this route for uploading files. So that this is our route. All the routes that we need are here. Now our routes is done. Now let's go and create our blade file by going to our resources, views, and in here I will create a new folder with this same name as file management. Let's copy, paste, and inside this I will create a new file with the name of index.blade.php. Okay, so this is our index file. Now in here I will add my layout. Then I will create a section for the head and another section for the content, and the last section for my script. Now if I go to browser and refresh the page will load, but it's blank. Let's go and add our font awesome script. So let's add the font awesome script and our styles in the head section. Now we have to scroll down. Now let's go and create our content in here. So in the content, first of all, I will create a div with a class of container. Inside that, I will add a h2. Then I will create a card class and card body class. Inside this, I will just create an empty class with the class name of files, because I want to display all my files and folders inside this div. After that, I will create another div on top of this and give it a class name of CoolMe10. In here, I will add my buttons. So first button will be for back. If I go and refresh the page, this button, and for now I will make this hidden, so no need to display the back button until the user navigate. After that, I will create another button for creating files, then one more button to create the folders, and one button for pasting data. I will make this hidden also, because we don't need it until the user don't cut and copy this. And the last folder will be for our creating a zip folder. So I will create these functions and later to show how this function will work. So that's it. Let's go to our browser and refresh the page. As you guys can see right now, we just can see the create file, create folder, and zip folder. Now let's go to our VS Code and create our first function to fetch all files and folders from our server side. So let's go back here. Let's scroll down, and inside script, first of all I will create the script tags. Then I will create my first variable to store the path that I am. Then after that, I will create get all files and folders function. Inside here, I will call Ajax, and the type of Ajax would be get, same as what we wrote in our web.php, and the URL will be file management get all, same thing that we wrote here with the prefix. Then after that, I will send a data. In the data, I will send the path which I am currently to fetch those path files and folder. And after that, in the success method, I will get data as a parameter. And for now, I will console log data to see if I am getting the data or not. Then I will empty the files class. If you guys remember, in here I created a div with a class of files. So whenever I call this function, first of all I will clear this. Then after that, I will set the current path to data.path that which I will get from the server. And after that, in the document.ready, I will create this document.ready to run when the page loads and call this function inside this. So up to here, our fetching the files is done. We only have to create our controller and the controller method for our get files. So let's open our terminal, and in here let's type php artisan make controller file management controller and enter. Okay, the controller is created. Now let's go inside it. Let's go from here. Let's go to our app http controllers and our file management controller. In here, let's create our get all method. Let's clear this. And let's import the storage in the top, and we will create our first method with the name of get all files and folders, the same name that we gave in our web.php. Then inside this, I will create a variable for the path and set it a default user files. If I go to my storage and app, in here I want to create a new folder with the name of user file. So I want to store all the files inside this folder. Then I will check the path that comes from the request. If it's not empty, then I will change the path to the what I get from the request where I send in here. Then after that, I will take the folders. After folders, I will take the files, and at the end I will send both folders and files with the current path as a response. So now let's go to our browser and let's refresh. Okay, there is nothing. Let's create some fake folder and files. Let's create a new folder in here with the name of users files, and inside here For now, I will just create some file and also one folder. Now let's go back to our browser. Let's refresh. Let's open the inspect and console. Now let's open this. As you guys can see, I got my files and folders in here as well as my path. So we can get our files and directory. Now let's go and create a function to display these files and folders inside this div. Now let's go to our VS Code and inside our index.blade.php file, after the get all files and folders function, I will create another function with the name of display files and folders, and this will accept 3 parameters, one for data, one for type, and another for the path. Then inside this I will create an object of all the icons to display for each extension. Then after that I will create a variable, and after that I will loop through the data to add the data inside my variable. Then at the end of this function I will append this var.html file inside my files div. If I scroll down, I will append it inside this div to display the files and folders. Then after that this is done, I will call this function inside my success function of Ajax, one time for folders and another time for the files. So now let's go back to our browser and now let's refresh the page. As you guys can see, I got one folder and one file. If I come to my VS Code and inside storage, let's scroll down. In here, I have only one folder and one file. So this is how we can display our files and folders inside our div. So now let's go and create our create file functionality to create files inside our project. So let's go up, and if I scroll up in the create file, in here as you guys can see, I created a function with the name of open model. So this will open a model. So let's scroll down, and inside our section before the last ending div, in here I will create a new div with the class of model and ID of create file model. Then inside the model content I will create a button to close the model and give it a title of create a file. Then add an input box to give the file name, then a text area to type the file content, and a one button to save the changes and create the file. Then I have to create model function. So let's scroll down, and inside my script in here I will create a function with the name of open model and it will accept model ID. Then inside that I will create a variable and save the model ID inside that variable, and I will give it a block style. Then I will create another function to close the model. So same like open model, it will also accept a model ID as a parameter. Then create a variable to save the model ID. Then model.style.display is equal to none. So now let's go to our browser. Let's refresh. As you guys can see, okay, let's close this. As you guys can see, the model has been created, and I can type here and I can type the content also. Now let's go and create the save functionality. Let's go to our VS Code, and after my close model function, I will create another function with the name of create file, and inside here I will create an object, and inside that object I will add file name, add file content and path. Then after that I will close the model. Then to send data to the server, I will create another function with the name of post Ajax, and it will accept 2 parameters, one URL and another data. And inside here I will also append the token and the current path. Then I will call my Ajax. Then the type of the Ajax would be post. I will send the URL and assign it to the same URL. Then the data. Then after in the success method, I will again call my first files and folders function, which is this function. My first function that fetch all the data back. So I want to refresh the data and display the new changes inside my div. Now let's scroll up, and inside our create file, let's call our post Ajax. So in here I will call my post Ajax and send the URL and the data to this function. Now let's go back to our controller, and in here let's create our controller method. So in here, first thing I will do is create a method with the name of create file, and it will accept request as a parameter. Then inside this I will use storage, and I will use put function of the storage. This put function will accept two parameters, one for file name and another parameter for the file content. So in the first parameter, I will use the path to save the file inside a folder, and slash it should be a folder. Then I will give the file name with the, and I will append the extension. Then in the second parameter, I will use the content of the request that I get. Then at the end, I will return the response with a message of create successfully. Now let's go back to our browser. Let's refresh, and let's click the create file, give it a name of testing. Then in here I will also type at the content, this is test. Now let's click save. As you guys can see, our file has been created. Now if I come to VS Code, scroll down to storage path and click the test, and the content, as you guys can see, is what I wrote. So this is how we can create a file. Now let's go and create our folder. So let's go to our index.blade.php. In here, scroll up. After the create file model, in here I will create another model with an ID of create folder model and class of model, and inside the model content I will create a button to close the model and the parameter would be same as the ID of the model. Then inside here I will give a title. After the title, I need an input box to get the folder name from the user, and a button to save the changes and create the folder. Now let's scroll down, and after the create file function and before the post, in here I will create a new function with the name of create file and create an object with the name of data. Inside here I will just need to send the folder name and the path. Then I will call my post Ajax, same thing that we did in the create file. The first parameter will be the URL and the second parameter would be data. And at the end, I will close my model. So now let's go and create the controller for this. In the controller, I will create a new method with the name of create folder, and it will also accept the request. Then I will again use the storage, and this time I will use make directory. In the creating file we use put, but to create a folder we use make directory, and this will accept only one parameter, which is the directory name. So in this I will use the path and the name. So first of all I will use the path which I get from the request, then I will append this slash and then after that I will type the folder name, and at the end I will send a response to the user that the folder is created successfully. Let's close this minimap also. So now let's go to our browser, let's refresh and click the create folder, give it a name, test folder, save, and as you guys can see my folder has been created. Now when the user click on the folder, nothing happens. I want to redirect the user and show the content of this folder when the user clicks on it. So let's go to our VS Code and inside our index.blade.php, because we don't need anything to create in the server side, only in the client side. So in here I will create a function with the name of change path, and it will accept one parameter which is path that the user wants to go. Then on that I will assign my current path to that path, and I will call my get all files and folders, which will refresh the content of that folder and display that to the user. And also in my display files and folder, in here I will create a new condition and check the type of the file. If it's folder, then I will add this on click event listener on it. Now let's go and test this. Let's refresh. Okay, if I click on the files, nothing happened, but if I click on the folder, as you guys can see, it will be refreshed and it will showing the content of that folder. For now it's empty, so let's go and add some files, or let's create a file from here. Create a file, this, save, create a folder, save. So now as you guys can see, I have these 2 files and folders inside my testing folder. If I refresh, click again, I can see the files and folders of that path that I clicked. Now there's no option to go back. So let's go and create our back button to go back. So let's come here. So now if I scroll up in my buttons, I already have a back button with the ID of back button and it's hidden. So let's scroll down inside our script and create a array which we will use to store all the paths that the user went. Then in our get all files and folders, in here we will check if the current path is not the element of the address and it is not there. In that case, push the address, the path that we get from the server to our addresses. Then another condition, and in here we will check if it's our address array is not empty, then display the back button, otherwise keep it hidden. And after this I will create a function with the name of back, and inside here I will remove the last element and set the current path to the last element, which is right now. Then I will again call my get all files folder to display all the files and folders inside that path. Now let's call this back. So when the user click on the back button, so let's call it on click, and now let's go to our browser, let's refresh, let's click on test folder. Okay, we have our back button. Now let's click back. We are here. Let's click here, back. Yeah, let's click here, then here, back. Yeah, as you guys can see, the back button right now it's not displaying, but when I go to inside a folder, it's there. Now let's go and create our context menu. So when the user right click on any file and folder, they can rename, cut, copy or download the files they want. So let's go to our VS Code and create a new div with the class name of context menu and ID of context menu. Inside this we will create a UL and we will add all the options that we want, like rename, cut, copy, paste, download and delete. Then after that in the scripts we will create the function to display our context menu. First of all, we will prevent and display our context menu. We can also use these 2 lines of code to store the data from which we right click, and we will create one more function to hide the context menu and create an event listener on the click. So when the user click outside our folders and files, the context menu should get closed, and we will call the context menu inside that click event listener. So now let's go back and let's refresh our page. If I click here, nothing happened, but if I click on the files, as you guys can see, we got all our context menu. We can also right click on a folder and we can get our context menu. Now let's go and create our rename model and function so we can rename our files and folders. For that, let's open our VS Code, and in the end of our section where we created our create folder and create file model, in here I will create another model, and inside this model I will add a close button. Then I will give it a title of rename. Then in here I will create a input text to store the old name of the file. Then I will create another input file to create the new name for the file or folder. Then after that I will call the rename function to save these changes. Now let's scroll up, and in our rename context menu, in here let's add a on click event and call open model and give the model ID to open the model. So when the model open, in here I want to add one condition, that if the model is rename model, in here first fetch the data from the selected item, then assign old name to the input type name, and after this we will create our function with the name of rename, and in here I will create a data object which contain an old name, new name and the current path, and we will call the post ajax to send the data to the server. After that we will close our model. Then in my controller I will create a new method with the name of rename, and this will also accept request. Then inside here I will create two variables, so three variables, one for old name, one for new name, and one for the extension. Then after that we have to check if request that we are getting is for file or for directory. For that, then I will create a new variable with the name of meme, and I will link it to my old file. Then in this case I will check if it's a meme, then it means it's a file. Then we have to get the extension of the old file. So I will, using this method, I am going to take the file extension and I will perform the rename operation by calling the move option. So we will use move. There is no function with rename, so we are gonna use move. If it's in the same folder, it will rename our file. So we will call our move, and it will also accept two parameters, one for old name and the second parameter for the new name. Then after that I will send the response to the user that the rename has been successful. Now let's go to browser, let's refresh, and let's rename this file. So let's right click and give it a name of 1234, save. As you guys can see, it has been renamed. We can rename the folder as well. We can type the name of, for example, 777, save, and it will change to that name. Now let's go and create our cut, copy, and paste functions. Let's go to our VS Code, and inside our index.blade.php file, in here at the end, I will create another variable with the name of copied item, and one more variable to check if the user select the cut or copy. Then I will create a function with the name of cut and copied, which will accept a parameter cut or copy. Then in here I will get the selected item data. After that I will assign that copy item to the name of that item to my copied item. Then I will check if it's copy and change this to 1, otherwise change it to 0. So I should know if it's cut or copy. Then I will make my paste option visible, and I will close the context menu. Now let's go on top and assign cut and copy to our cut and copy context menu. Let's go here, and on click of our cut, let's call cut and copy function and send parameter as an cut. Same thing let's do with the copy, and on click we will call cut and copy and send copy as a parameter. Now let's hide our paste. So we will say hidden and give it an ID of paste. Now let's go and create a function for our paste. Let's scroll down to our script, and in the end of our script I will create a new function with the name of paste, and inside this I will send my data object with the source, destination, and is copied to in the backend, so I can know it's copy or paste. Then I will use my post ajax, send the URL and data, and again back I will hide the paste from the context menu. Then I will set the copied item to null and is copied item to null as well. Now let's go and call this paste function when the user click paste. So let's scroll up to our context menu, and in here let's call our paste function. Now let's go and create the controller. So in the controller, at the end I will create a new method with the name of paste, and I will create a variable source to get the source from the request, then the destination to get from the request, and get the base name of the file using base name function. After that I will append the file name to the destination path, and in here I will check if it's copy, then use copy method of storage and give with the source and destination path, and if it's cut, use the move method of storage. Then at the end we will send a response to the user by saying file and folder as moved successfully. Now if I go to my browser, refresh the page, and let's say for example I want to move this file inside this folder. So I will right click, cut, and I will click here and click the paste button. As you guys can see, it's here. If I go back, it's gone. Now if I want to copy this, let's click copy and paste it inside this folder. Let's click paste test.txt and let's go back as here also and as well as here in both sides. Now let's see how we can create our delete functionality. So let's go back to our VS Code inside our index file, and at the end I will create a new function with the name of delete item, and inside here first I will get all the data from the selected item, then I will fetch the name from this selected item. After that I will create my object which I will use to send the name, and I will use my post object to send the URL and the data in it. Then after that I will call this function inside my context menu delete in here. So let's call this on click of this and delete item. Now let's go to our controller and create our delete method. So in the controller, at the end I will create a new function with the name of delete, and inside here the first thing that I will do is that check the meme type of the file. So if there is a meme type, then I will use a storage delete because it's a file. Otherwise I know it's a directory, so I will use delete directory. Then I will return a message by saying file/folder has been deleted successfully. Now let's go and let's refresh. Now let's try to delete the testing.txt. Let's click delete. It's deleted. Now let's delete this folder, or it's let's click and it's gone. Now let's try to delete this folder. So it has been deleted. Now let's see how we can download a file by right clicking and clicking the download file. So let's go into our index.blade.php file, and at the end I will create a new function with the name of download item. Then I will get the data of selected item and store it inside my name variable. Then after that I will encode it using encode URI component. Then I will redirect the user to a new blank tab with the URL and the name of my file. Now let's go and call this function on our context menu. So when the user click it, so let's scroll up, and in here let's call on click download item. Now let's go to controller, and at the end let's create a new method with the name of download. Inside it we will get our encoded file name. Then we will use URL decode to decode the file name, and at the end we will use try and catch, and if the file is not found we will send 404, else we will use download method of storage to download the file name. So let's go to browser, let's refresh, and let's click download. As you guys can see, the file has been downloaded successfully. Now let's create our zip this folder functionality. So let's go to our VS Code, and in our index.blade.function, in here I will create a folder with the name of zip folder, and inside my data object I will just send the current path because I want to zip the current path or the current folder. Then I will call my post ajax function and send it the data. Now in my file management controller at the top, let's go up. In here I will import the zip archive. Then I will create a new function with the name of zip folder. Inside this I will create a variable to store the folder name that I get from the client. Then I will create a variable and get the folder name and append a .zip extension to it. Then after that I will specify the path to which I want to create a zip folder. After that I will create a variable and use the new zip archive class. Then I will check if there is any condition. Then I will return an error message. After that I will get all the files from that directory, and for each file I will add them to my zip folder. After that I will close the zip and remove back my zip folder from the app directory to the original folder. Then I will return successful. So let's go and let's try this. Let's click the zip folder. As you guys can see, the zip folder has been created successfully. Now the last thing that I want to do is to allow the user to upload his files. So let's go to our VS Code to index.php .play.php, and let's scroll up. In here that I have my buttons, I will create a new div class with a form inside it, and this form has encrypt multi-part form data. It will be a form data. Then I will create the label and an input type file with multiple, because I want to, so that the user can upload multiple files at the single time. Now let's go and create the Ajax function for this. Let's scroll down, and at the end of our scripts, let's create another function in here inside our document.ready and add a event listener on file upload on change, and create a form data to store our form inside this. Then we will get the files from the form data. After that, we will look through each files and append the files on it. Then I will append the token, CSRF token inside my form data, and the path as well. Then I will use Ajax and URL to send the uploads, and this method is post. Then the data of Ajax, I will use my form data. After that, the content type and the process type data, both of them will be false. Then in the success method, I will call my get all files and folders to refresh the data so we can see the files, and just this console, and at the end the error also we will use the console. Now let's go to file management controller and create the controller method for this. Now in the file management, at the end I will create another function with the name of upload, and inside here I will check if the request has a file. In that case, get the files from the request, and I will create an array. Then I will look through all the files and get the file name with the extension. Then I will store all the files into my path that I sent from the server side. After that, I will upload all of them inside my upload files and return success message to the user. And if anything is failed, then I will say no files were uploaded. Now let's go and let's refresh our browser. We have a button upload files in here. Let's click this. Let's select some files from here and click open. Okay. The moment if we click open, all our files will be uploaded to server, and after the success, it will be displayed in here. So right now I can create file, create a folder, and zip my current folder, and also I can go inside a folder where I can create my own folders. So this is how we can create a file management in Laravel. Hope you guys liked it and enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, write it down in the comment.